Hi, welcome back to the build of my Piper Cherokee, a kit that I got from DB Sport Scale. Well, the skeleton of the wings now are all complete. Everything's dried and I've given it a little bit of a sanding just to make sure there's no high spots or bits of glue or lumps that are going to affect it when I do the sheeting. So now that's the next job. Quite exciting to get it sheeted and see it really starting to transform into a wing. Also it'll be quite sad because it'll cover all the skeleton, which actually I quite like looking at. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is get on and do the sheeting, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is looking really nice now. It's really starting to take shape. Okay, well, I think I've completed the sheeting now for this top right hand wing. I just need to let it dry. There's a little piece that will need to go on here at the end of the aileron bay, but I'll do that another time. All pinned, all clamped. I've never done any sheeting before, so I'm not really sure the best way of doing it. Kind of made it up as I go along. A few things to note though. In the instructions and the plans it shows you putting weights on the wing, but I'm slightly concerned that if I put weights in the middle of the wing you can see it flexing just a little bit. The wings are nice and straight at the moment, there's no warps and bends in them, so I don't want to introduce them by putting weights in the middle of the wing here. So I've just kept my weights to the outside. Okay, I could put slightly lighter weights, but it'll still all add up and it's surprising, you can just see a little bit of flex if you press down on it. So I've kept pins to the middle, weights to the outside. I've actually clamped, the wing is on these guides, what do you call them? Formers here to sit the wing on to hold it while you're sheeting, which is great. But what I've done is I've put a clamp here and also a clamp there, just to make sure that that is held in place and doesn't slip off the supports while I'm halfway through sheeting, which would be a real pain. Clamp this trailing edge here. Also, I've put in a bit of plastic here, just because if I'm not careful where the sheeting just overlaps the end of the rib, I'm at risk of sticking it to one of these supports, these temporary supports. So I've put a bit of plastic in. I've also put plastic in here, wrapping these bits of balsa, where I'm using them just to push down the front of the sheeting and pin it. So I feel quite pleased with that. I don't think there's any movement. I've also used magic tape here to put a bit of pressure on the joints and to hold them together. they all feel nice. So just see what it's like when we take everything off. Okay, well, I've now sheeted both of the top surfaces and I'm really pleased with the way that's come out. A couple of minor points. There are just a couple of little steps between the sheeting which will easily sand out, but where I put the tape across, the magic tape, to make sure it was held together, I might just put a strip down the whole joint just to make sure, or to try and make sure there aren't any kind of little bits that are sticking up. I've sanded the edges, it's nice. I've still got a little bit of an overhang on the aileron bay, which I need to, I'm not sure whether I might trim that with a knife first, X-Acto knife, and then sand it, or whether I'll just sand it. But I'm really pleased with the way that's turned out. So what I'm now going to do is the underside. Let's just make sure this is in camera. I've put in the lead for the servo. Let me just put this on the supports. Okay, that's resting nicely now on the plywood supports that you make as part of the kit. So I'm going to do this underside now on this right hand wing. I've remembered to thread my servo lead through, which is good, and I've taped it down at either end just to stop it flapping around when I kind of move the wing around. I've already prepared the balsa that's going to go on here. I cut it to length, and I've also cut the hatch. Sorry about the banging next door. There's some builders doing some shuttering which is competing with me. So I've cut out the hatch for where the servo is going to be mounted, and as I said previously, I'm just going to make a little cover, but this is the balsa wood I cut out, but I'll do that in thin ply probably, because it'll just be a little bit stronger. One of the things I've done, which is a deviation from the plan, is and the instructions, is that they show you covering just up to the edge of these two plywood strips, and these two plywood strips are for holding the wheel support, the wire, in place. And so you push that in, and there's a couple of straps that you just screw across, and the plan suggests that you sheet up to that. Now these two strips here, 224 and 223, were only marginally higher than the actual ribs, and so what I thought I would do is I just sanded them lightly on both sides. I had to do the one a little bit more than the other, and now I'm actually going to sheet over that, because I think that'll just make a nicer, neater job on the underside. So that'll be like that, and I'll put a strip in here. And where I've got the plastic straps that just go across there, I will just cut out a little bit of the sheeting, just so it's attached directly to the plywood. I just think that'll make a neater job. And here we've got the final piece. So I'll get on and sheet that now, and also I'll do the other wing, and we'll have a look once that's been done. today I've sheeted the underside of both wings, and hopefully this second wing now is good and dry. It's been quite a while. The film that I was doing, the high-speed film, unfortunately I ran out of memory on the memory card, so you'll have noticed it was only, showed partial sheeting. I'm really pleased with how it's gone. I've learnt a lot. I've never done any sheeting before. This is my first time, and if you watch the videos closely, you'll notice that I actually do each wing differently. It's been a real learning process, learning kind of what works and what doesn't. So I've really enjoyed it. I think it's great, and I'm quite keen now to get on and just do the central section. Okay, well, here we have it. I've still got the tape on the trailing edge there, which I'll probably leave for a little bit longer. But it's all looking good. You can see I've left the bays for the wing servos. Just keen now to get on and finish it off and do the central section, and of course then I have the ailerons to cover. Okay, as you can see I've got quite a way now with the wings, all glued together, sheeted on the actual wings themselves, and one of the jobs I did recently was to add these wing fairings. These are 0.4mm ply, lovely pieces of ply, bent quite, I don't know if I can show that without, bent quite acutely there where it meets the fuselage. I was really concerned that these were going to crack when I put them on or split. You have to wet them, of course, but actually they went on lovely. Very, very slightly out of line, just, I don't know whether the camera can pick that up, just there, and I had to trim the front, but I'm really pleased with that. And they add a certain flair, if you like, I suppose they are flares, to the wing. They make it look nice. I've also sheeted the underside here and sanded that. One bit of advice, rather than sheeting the whole lot, the best thing that I can advise you to do is to leave this central section clear while you sheet the wings, top and bottom, and then you can hold the plywood braces, the central section, while you shape the leading edge and while you do all the sanding. It gives you a really good firm hold. If you're going to be gripping the sheeting, then that could cause a problem. You could damage it. And similarly, I've done the sheeting on the underside. I left this unsheeted while I sanded it, just so that again I had a grip, just so that I didn't drop it or damage it. Really sorry about the noise I'm competing with. Still got builders in next door doing some shuttering. So I'm really pleased with that. As you can see, it's sanded, the leading edge is shaped. Only thing I've got to do with this now is a little bit of plywood, not plywood, a little bit of balsa just on these ends here to make that up for the end pieces. So I'm going to get on now and finish the final central section. Okay, so here's my finished wing, which I'm really pleased with. It's turned out nice. All the sheeting's been done, the fairings. There's these plastic moulded wing tips which slide on after you've done the covering. Put them on and glue them on with something like Gorilla Glue or a gap filling glue. I'm not totally enamoured with these fairings or tips. I did think about making some out of balsa, which would be easy to do, but I think I'll probably just leave them be and use them. Also put the bits of balsa on the end of the aileron bay here, and I've got some very fine sanding just to finish off. But other than that, the wings are finished and it's time to move on to the fuselage.